Green Wave Radio Live. Breaking on AMTV today, January 3rd, 2013. We have a few new videos up. Chemical Brothers talk about chemical warfare in Syria, in the Middle East. This has been a big concern among the regime here in the United States, or at least that's what they've been selling us. Propaganda. Convincing, or at least trying to convince, and I would argue rather well, that the appropriate course of action in the near term and in the near future is global war. We got to take these countries out, just like President Barack Obama whacked and murdered Muammar Gaddafi in Libya to topple his regime, and of course began running guns, which is known as Benghazi Gate today, which they've gotten off scot-free for, running guns into Syria and arming al-Qaeda so that they can overthrow government after government. You know, in the meantime, we've been talking about fiscal cliff negotiations. In fact, I put out a video yesterday on it. Just honestly, the lunacy of Washington. Honestly, all this talk about the fiscal cliff and, you know, how the Republicans and Democrats are going to come together, meet halfway in the middle somehow to find some kind of resolution, I find personally completely uninteresting. And the reason for that is I already know the outcome. Of course there will be no change. Of course the debt won't change. It will only grow. Of course there's not going to be any kind of budget solution regarding the finances in Washington. Of course not. This is all a charade. This is like watching some kind of popular mainstream entertainment program. It's like watching Celebrity Housewives. It's just drama. Pure drama. Look, the hardcore reality is America is finished. America is over. We're done. We're broke. And honestly, we just already know the answer. We already know the answer. And I just shot a video here a few minutes ago talking about the fact that, you know, people ask me all the time, Christopher, why haven't things changed since 2008? Why haven't things changed? Why hasn't there been any meaningful change in leadership, government, the mainstream media, all these things that we talk about on a daily basis? And the reason for that, if we're just to be honest with ourselves, if we're to be truly objective, is that we're the problem. We are the problem. The masses don't want change. The masses voted by popular vote to re-elect President Barack Obama for a second term here in the United States. This is the same president who passed the National Defense Authorization Act. He's the same president that has propagated a continuation of wars in the Middle East, worse than President Bush. It's the same president that has spent more money than any other president before him in history combined in aggregate. It's what the people want. The people want the talking orange on YouTube. The people want the disposable pop culture bullshit. It's exactly what they're demanding, and it's what they're consuming, and it's why it still exists. It is why not a single one of these criminals that should be impounding in the ass federal prison, all the way up the ladder to President Barack Obama himself and downward and those that control him, it's why every single one of these people continues to walk around Washington, D.C. today with their cup of coffee in hand and a smirk on their face, and it is why not a single one of them is in jail. The people do not care. At least the majority. The great majority doesn't care. They're happy with the way things are. They're happy with Obama pretending to provide solutions. They're happy with the idea that they're going to get Social Security, even though that's complete and a total lie. My generation will never get Social Security. We can never depend on the government. The only thing we can depend on the government for is death. Death, and honestly, it's the equivalent of just basically raiding a village, raping and killing all the women and children, and just leaving you with nothing, just leaving the village just completely burnt down to the ground and charred. That's what Generation X and Y has to look forward to. And, you know, this dynamic, this paradigm is certainly changing. It's not that I haven't seen some change. It's not that there hasn't been some meaningful change, but again, let me illustrate for you, because I'm not one to just bullshit with you. I'm here to deliver the truth. I'm here to be a real person, which is exactly what I am and who I've been from the very beginning. Only a small minority has really helped any meaningful change at all. And really wants any kind of meaningful change. I mean, literally, if we're to put a scorecard out there right now, tyranny versus liberty, the Obamanites and growing tyrannical government and socialism and all these programs versus capitalism, liberty lovers, freedom, Second Amendment, pro-Constitution type individuals and groups. If we're to tally up who's actually winning, just to get real here, to be real with you, tyranny, oppression, slavery is kicking the shit out of liberty. Kicking the shit out of it. Honestly. I mean, take a look at Ron Paul. I love Ron Paul. I'm a huge supporter of Ron Paul. Everything that he's done. I mean, take a look at where he's ended up. What is Ron Paul doing today? Nothing. He's moving into retirement. What's changed? Nothing. I mean, I'm just being objective about this. The reality is that we need more leadership. We need more leaders among the ranks. We need more people, and we don't need some Jesus Christ Savior figure coming from the clouds with his arm open up, telling us he's going to save us from tyranny. Unless it happens to be Jesus Christ himself. Unless it happens to be him. But we don't need to look to people. We don't need to look to humanity to solve our problems. Look, your best friend down the road or your neighbor across the street isn't going to solve your problems. I'm not going to solve your problems. The only person that's going to solve your own problems and change your life and have any meaningful impact in your life is yourself. And to not know that to be reality, to not truly understand that is to just be quite frankly ignorant. Either ignorant, dumb, stupid, or all three. That's a cold, hard reality, because if the masses truly want to change, if they truly wanted to disengage themselves from the tyrannical relationship that we have with our government, that we have with the mainstream media, that we have with leadership today, it'd be over in a heartbeat. Snap my fingers, done, finished. There would have been no need for me to come on the radio and mass-produce thousands of videos over the past 3 years. Yeah, that's right. I've mass-produced personally thousands of videos on YouTube. Thousands of videos. Thousands. I want you to think about that. Thousands of videos. Pretty much on the same topic. You're being oppressed, you're a slave, all this debt, the paradigm that's been created for you, you've been stolen from, etc., etc. Really with the same message and the same topic. And I'm not saying there hasn't been a meaningful impact. I'm not saying that it hasn't changed some people's lives. But the cold, hard reality is the masses are happy with the way things are. And honestly, take a look at the way things are today. Let's just be honest with ourselves. I mean, go to CNBC.com. How are things going since the bailouts? Honestly, from a very superficial, fabricated level, great. Things are freaking wonderful. Unbelievable. Better than they've ever been. Take a look at it. The Dow Jones Industrial Average sits at 13,391 points today. We're almost back to the pre-peak, before the crash and before the capital markets crumbled to the ground in 2008. Things are freaking fantastic. A lot of the mainstream media will say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Record foreclosures and short sales, bankruptcy and all this. I don't know what you're talking about. The Dow's at 13,400. Kicking ass. Things are great. I'm reading reports. They say real estate's up now. Real estate's up. Things are good. It's on the rebound. It's on the up and up. The bailouts worked. Now, obviously, I don't really believe that. I think in the short run, maybe we're getting a superficial rally. We're having there's a very superficial, illusory effect on the economy. It's exactly what Ben Bernanke and the global power structure oligarchs that run the world intended. Of course, blind the masses, keep them complacent, keep them comfortable, keep them happy, keep them watching the talking oranges, keep them watching these TV shows. Keep them watching MTV, 16 and pregnant. As long as the people are distracted and as long as they're comfortable and as long as they're consuming this disposable new technology, which is really what it is, hey, watch the 3-minute video and then trash it. But before you do it, share it to, a few friends. I mean, honestly, the whole thing I find incredibly sad. I find it incredibly demoralizing at times. It's sickening. It's sickening in my own heart. It's sickening, I think, in a lot of yours. And, this has been an incredible journey. This has been a journey. It's been a personal journey for me, but it's been a journey for all of us. Every single one of you that's, been with me from the very beginning, that is, tuned into my show, who's shared our content, shared our videos, helped us promote what we were doing, promote our message of freedom and liberty. This has been a journey. But honestly, I'm quite frankly disappointed in the outcome. I'm just being freaking honest. I'm disappointed of where we are today. What's changed? Nothing. Nothing's changed. The criminals are still in power. They've manipulated the economy. They've manipulated and coerced and fabricated this fake recovery. Honestly, they've won so far. They've won. We've lost. I'm being real. Yeah, I'm telling you the things that Ron Paul and these people, they're just not going to say on camera. No, he's gonna mosey on to retirement. Not that he shouldn't do that. I mean, God, how much longer can the guy continue doing what he's doing? I mean, good for him. He should enjoy his retirement. I'm sure this has been quite frankly, a gigantic toll on his personal life and his mental health and his health in general. You know, he deserves to move into retirement, maybe try to enjoy his later years. But where does this leave us? Where does this leave us? And it's hard not to be just incredibly disappointed about where we are today. And it's why all of the news is supposedly hitting us over the head right now. We already know the answer to. Look, I have specifically covered this ad nauseum. Yes, they're coming after the guns. Yes, we know this already. I've been telling you this for years. This is in the works right now. This legislation will be passed by Barack Obama and his cohorts. The country is descending into anarchy. There will be a civil war. Millions of people are going to die. We know this already. I know this already. Yes, war is here. Yes, the United States government is going to manipulate the youth in America today like they already have in Iraq, Afghanistan, and all these other countries in the Middle East. And they're going to ask more and more kids to go and die and give up their lives for the tyrannical regime. We already know this. What's changed? Nothing. Nothing. They're winning. Honestly, they're winning. You're losing. And the only reason you're losing, I'm losing, or we're losing is because honestly, it's not enough. It's not enough. This small minority isn't enough. The great majority is happy with tyranny, is happy the way things are. They're comforted by it. They don't want freedom. They don't want liberty. They don't want it. And I know this sounds almost counterproductive and self-serving at the moment, but I honestly am just, I'm streaming a little bit my own consciousness here with you because I want you to think about really where we are. 2013, this is a time of extreme reflection. We should evaluate our successes and we should also evaluate our failures as a message and as a movement. And quite frankly, up until this point, has there been some small success? Has there been some change? Has there been some meaningful impact? Yes, of course, I'm not going to deny that. But are we winning? No, we're losing. If this was round one, liberty lost. And that's just the effing reality. And honestly, we need to own up to the reality. And, when you're losing something, when you're losing a match or you're losing in a sport, and I personally, and I think a lot of you as well, I know a lot of you in our audience were athletes yourself. Well, what do? How do you change that? Because I don't like to lose. I don't like to be a loser. I'm sure you probably don't like that either. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to get stronger. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to have our rocky moment. We need to work harder. We need to change the approach then. We need to do something different. We don't continue the same course, right? I mean, isn't this just common sense? You don't repeat what didn't work before. You change. You evolve. You move forward. You get stronger. You work harder, but you change the approach. You change the way you're doing things. Otherwise, how can you expect any kind of different outcome from what you've already had? Honestly, what we're doing isn't enough. And this is really about encouraging you. This isn't about beating you over the head with a brick saying, oh, we failed, it's over. America's over. Yeah, in its current form it is. It's done. This movement isn't over. It's just beginning. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying to get you to think about what we need to do differently, how much stronger we need to become to continue pushing forward with the message of liberty and freedom, and honestly protecting our loved ones and protecting our families and sharing what it is that we believe in so passionately and fervently, and continuing on with that plan that is really almost predestined for us. You know, we talk about a lot of the times just the American dream, this manifest destiny. The fact that we've had just this wonderful, amazing, beautiful 200-plus year experience. In order for it to continue, we must give a shit. We must give a damn. We must fight for our freedom. We must fight for our liberty. And we must continue to push forward at all costs and continue the struggle and continue to share the message with as many people as we possibly can. You know, I've met a lot of you over the years. I've met a lot of you personally. A lot of you have touched me. You know, you come up to me and I've shaken your hands and say, Christopher, thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the fight. You know, the revolution lives on. And that encouragement and the emails that I get. That's amazing. We must continue the fight. We must continue to encourage each other. We must change our approach to fighting this machine, to fighting this war machine, to fighting this government. This government is the enemy. I'm Christopher Green. We'll be right back. This is our first break. Everybody stay tuned. Sites, our video production, we're really taking it up a notch. And I'm really excited for the new year. I'm really excited to be back. I see Dr. Toole says, hey, finally a live show. Dr. Toole, how you doing? Great to have you with us, as well as the rest of you. Now, I did a video yesterday talking about Obama returning to Hawaii. This is all during fiscal cliff negotiation. It shows you where the priorities of the country are at. It shows you where President Barack Obama's priorities are. He returns to Hawaii before a deal is even struck, at an added cost of over $3 million plus to taxpayers. That's just the return trip. The total aggregate cost expense on the backs of taxpayers, which is always on the backs of taxpayers. Hey, if Obama wants to travel, let him travel on his own dime. If he wants to blow $7 million on a luxurious Hawaiian vacation, go for it. This is America. But no, you're going to pay for it. Just like you pay for the bailouts. Just like you pay for this fake capitalism that doesn't exist anymore. When the big banks fail, you pay for it. Nobody else does. They don't. Of course not. They're not going to shoulder any risk. Why? Why would they shoulder any risk when they've got you, the slave, to pay for their every move? So Obama returns to Hawaii at a total aggregate cost of over $7 million, $3 million plus just on the return trip. Amazing. So I put this out yesterday. It just goes to show you where the priorities of the country are at. This is just the reality. You know, in other news, they're talking about, could we have a change with the Speaker at the House? I see here Geithner, the rats are leaving the nest. He's going to step down at the end of January before the debt ceiling deal. Of course the rats leave the nest. They all do. They're all sailing their yachts in the distance while you suffer. President Barack Obama is out on his, multi-million-dollar vacay while America balloons debt into the stratosphere, just like Greece, engages in a new global confrontation with the rest of the world, a new war. Americans suffer in record foreclosure, bankruptcy, 44 million plus on food stamps, and the dollar crashes and crumbles. That's the reality. I mean, that's government for you. And as long as we allow these people to continue to hold their power, as long as we continue to endorse the regime, the tyranny, it's exactly what we should get. That's the honest truth. So, it really is just some unbelievable stuff. And, this is an interesting report here. I read that more people killed with hammers, clubs, each year than rifles. Yet, for some reason, hammers aren't going to be banned. Clubs aren't going to be banned. More people die of, bee stings every year. But, we're not banning bees. There's not a war on bees, but there's a war on guns. Why? Well, pretty obvious why. Obama's going to disarm you right before he kills you. It's how it works in tyranny. I mean, Hitler did it. What makes you think President Barack Obama isn't going to do it? I mean, here's a guy, we can't even verify this guy's birth certificate, for crying out loud. We can't even verify this is a U.S. citizen, for God's sake. So a lot of people, I talk to a lot of liberals, say it doesn't matter. And I look at them dead in the eye, and I go, how does it not matter? It's a part of the Constitution. You can't be president unless you're born here. We don't care. They don't care. America, honestly, I don't even know if I call myself an American anymore. I don't agree with 95% of America. I agree with our founding fathers. I agree with, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. I mean, if there ever is a civil war, which there will be, I know which side I'm on. I know where I'm aiming my rifle. It's not against the resistance. It is the resistance. We'll be fighting Washington. I'll be fighting Washington. That's the problem. And this was aired on Fox News, Breitbart.com. Originally says, according to the FBI annual crime statistics, the number of murders committed annually with hammers and clubs far outnumbers the number of murders committed with the rifle. This is an interesting fact, particularly amid the Democrats' feverish push to ban many different rifles, ostensibly to keep us safe, or at least that's what they're telling us. Hey, you can't be armed. That's dangerous. We don't want you to protect yourself or have any right to self-defense against a tyrannical government. That'd put you in danger. It's just like why they bought millions of rounds of hollow point ammunition. The type of ammunition that expands in your body and is pretty much 100% certainty to kill you once they fire it on you. Why would the federal government be arming themselves while disarming the American people at the same time? I mean, this is just common sense. Of course, this is a very interesting fact, particularly amid the Democrats' feverish push to ban many different rifles. As I said, ostensibly to keep us safe, although we know that's bullshit. And it appears, it says here, I'm reading the article, it says the zeal of senators like Dianne Feinstein of California is misdirected. For in looking at the FBI numbers from 2005 to 2011, the number of murders by hammers and clubs consistently exceeds the number of murders committed with a rifle. Think about it. In 2005, the number of murders committed with a rifle was 445, while the number of murders committed with hammers and clubs was 605. In 2006, the number of murders committed with a rifle was 438, while the number of murders committed with hammers and clubs was 618. And so the list goes on and on, with the actual numbers changing somewhat from year to year, yet the fact remains that more people are killed with blunt objects each year than rifles. Yet we don't have a war on blunt objects. I'm saying, hey, we're going to take that hammer away from you. No hammers allowed. Jared Loughner and these psychopathic MK Ultra, heavily drugged out on SSRIs, serotonin, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, not going to outlaw any of that stuff. No shit, they're going to pour more of that into our kids' brains. Sell more of it. Run more billion-dollar commercial and ad campaigns on it. Hey, you depressed? Well, shit, take this shit right here. It's like crack. It's called Prozac. It's called Zoloft, Paxil. Sniff this shit. Snort it. Punch it right into your veins. Maybe you'll go out and murder on a murder rampage like all these other schizophrenic characters. It's pretty much what they are, stereotyped. So we don't have a war on hammers. We don't have a war on baseball bats. We don't have a war on blunt objects, but we sure as hell, or as they do, they sure as hell have a war on guns. They want all guns. They want rifles. They want semi-automatic, automatic. They want handguns. They want large, medium clips. Then they're going to go after small clips. They want it all, baby. It's like that rap song, I want it all. Diamond rings, fast cars, blah, 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 or whatever it is, They want it all. They want everything, and they won't stop until they have everything. They won't stop until they have your head on a spike. That's when Obama will quit. He'll be like, you have every American. He'll guillotine all of us and put them on spikes right in front of Washington. It'll be the new gate in front of the White House. Then they'll start at least thinking about laying up a bit. They'll be like, okay, I think we put the fear of God, or at least the fear of Obama, into the minds of the American people now that we have these American heads on spikes now. maybe we'll let up a little bit now. You know, now that the people know that we'll kill them outright if they don't obey, you know, we've got a pretty successful totalitarian state here now. So that's where we are today, America. That's what we're dealing with. Another interesting story, this is from Mail Online. Venezuelan politicians demand that the whole truth over condition of President Hugo Chavez after rumors circulate that he has died. And there's been reports saying that he is on life support. Spanish paper reports he is in an induced coma amid rumors he has died, which would make sense. I mean, kind of evaluate, well, what is life? What does it mean to be alive if it takes machines to keep you alive? Are you dead? If there's no brain activity, but your heart still beats and you're breathing not on your own but by a machine, does that make you alive? And then, you know, brings in elements, well, then do you still have a soul? Has the soul left? It just, you know, how are you in this intermediate stasis? Opposition leader says Venezuelans have not been kept properly informed. Chavez suffered bleeding and a respiratory infection after December 11th operation. Now, of course, his opponents have demanded that the government tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth about the health of the cancer-stricken President Hugo Chavez, who has not been heard from in 3 weeks after undergoing a grueling operation in Cuba. Officials have acknowledged the usually garrulous former soldier's health is delicate after his fourth cancer surgery in 18 months. Fourth. But they have offered scant details on his condition despite rumors that he has died. So there's a lot circulating on Mr. Chavez and exactly what is happening. Of course, the opposition's trying to capitalize on this. So what is coming next? I mean, 2013, here we are, January 3rd. War, death, bankruptcy, insolvency. When I say war, I'm not just talking about global war. Oh, yeah, we'll get the world war. It's here. I'm talking civil war here as well. It's already started. I mean, you've seen the petitions at the White House. This started last year. This has been in motion since '08. You know, the few patriots out there do care. They're not going to submit to President Barack Obama taking away guns. They're just not going to do it. I mean, I get thousands of emails that say, well, Chris, you can come after my guns, but over my dead body is what they tell me. My finger will be on the trigger. They're going to have to take my life in order to take my guns. You know, Piers Morgan, I did a very heated, hard-hitting video on him, is fairly popular, just talking about the fact that he was saying he doesn't think that's enough. Not only would he go after all the guns, but he would flat out confiscate, which I think Obama's going to do, even though he's not saying it outright yet. We know he's going to, at the very least, ban the certain sale of weapons. But whether or not he grandfathers in, previous assault weapon ownership or not, that could change. I mean, we saw this under Clinton, where it was grandfathered in. But this time around, what Piers Morgan was saying, a non-U.S. citizen who should be booted out of the country, there's a petition signed with over 100,000 signatures telling Piers Morgan to get the hell out. Go back to England, you freaking redcoat, you stinking POS. You know, you're the type of people that we were firing back at during the first American Revolution and the Declaration of Independence in 1776. But he's saying in addition to confiscation, outright confiscation of those people that still, those Americans, that still have ownership over these weapons. Had a few ringers going off there. But in addition to doing that, he's talking flat out jail time for millions of Americans. Stiff punishment is what he was talking about. So basically, you become a criminal. You own guns, you become a criminal. That's what they're pushing. So think about this for a minute. You have millions of Americans, they suddenly become criminals. How do you think they're going to react? Well, this isn't rocket science, people. Not well. They're going to react negatively or really positively because they're going to react against the government. Instead of, pointing their guns elsewhere, they're going to point them at the government. We saw this in Egypt with the overthrow of what they said or sold to us was a totalitarian regime just to be replaced by another totalitarian leader. The only difference being that leader is a pawn of the United States, which is why the United States government helped to overthrow it. Ouster, the previous administration, put in Mohammed Morsi to help allow the United States in their traitorous, treasonous, aggressive, violent war and destabilization effort in the Middle East. So there you have it, America. That's where we're headed. That's what the American people have to look forward to. This is just the cold, hard facts. This is just the cold, hard reality. And you think about, too, what are the majority of Americans, how are they going to react to this? I mean, how are the masses that consume talking oranges and disposable entertainment and all this propaganda? I mean, what are they going to do? Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to side with their leader. They're going to side with the regime. Not going to side with the liberty lovers. Maybe there'll be a small percentage. That's what's so sad to me. What's sad to me is the people want this tyranny. I can't emphasize it enough. They want it. Just like they want the mass media, just like they want to consume mindless entertainment, just like they want their comfort, and they don't really truly want freedom. They want this tyranny. It's probably what I'll title this rebroadcast. Broadcasting on American Freedom Radio, hardest hitting radio network on the planet. We broadcast, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central, 4 to 5 p.m. East Coast time. We changed that time slot, so let me repeat that again. It's every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. Central, 4 to 5 p.m. East Coast time. We're taking our video production to an entirely new level, putting out some amazing, very exciting content, working on some extraordinary new documentaries. Very excited to get this out on our channel, and I just want to continue to thank you for your tremendous support. Every single one of you that shares our video and supports what we do, it means so much to me, and it really is just an incredible feeling, and it's incredible to do what we do. I found this very interesting today. I read this really first thing once I got out of bed. Al Jazeera buys Al Gore's current TV in bid to expand in the United States. This is a big, big buyout. Acquisition of Al Gore's cable channel gives Al Jazeera a chance to establish a presence where it has only had limited reach. Now, a lot of people, at least politicians, will tell you that Al Jazeera is a terrorist network because they've aired Al-Qaeda. They've called them Al-Qaeda sympathizers, even though Al-Qaeda was created by the United States federal government, armed by them, trained by them, still is to this day. I mean, really, Osama bin Laden, just a propaganda character and a scapegoat to engage the Middle East in war. So here you have at least a White House-defined propaganda Al-Qaeda sympathizing network that just buys out Al Gore. Now, this is really interesting. Now, current TV, I don't know if a lot of you know this or not, but the Young Turks, which are very popular on YouTube, they're really one of the first internet TV shows ever to really come into existence. They're owned by Current TV, and that's where they broadcast. And Current TV has really underperformed. I'm not sure about the YouTube broadcast. Young Turks are extremely popular on YouTube with their social media platform, et cetera. But the network itself, because they also broadcast, or they did, on Time Warner Cable and the other major networks, is really fledgling and has really failed. I was reading some of the viewership numbers on it, and viewership is like 40,000 viewers a night, on an average night. My channel gets more views than that. I mean, think about just how things have changed so much. Mainstream television compared to really, I don't even think of it alternative media anymore. We just are the media. This is what people want to watch. This is what they're consuming. So we have this major, major buyout. Now, Al Gore, I'm just kind of laughing to myself as we approach the introduction of this segment. I'm looking at him, it's like, for all the talk about global warming, and right-sizing the planet, I mean, talk about a guy that needs to go on a diet. And, I'm obviously being a little facetious, but I mean, here you got Al Gore. He sells current TV to a White House defy. I mean, this is a guy that was supposed to be the president. He sells out to Al Jazeera for $100 million. That's his cut, $100 million. Just Al Gore owns 10% of current TV. Al Jazeera, the pan-Arab news network that has struggled to win space on U.S. cable television, has acquired Current TV, the channel co-founded by former U.S. Vice President Al Gore. So we're seeing this change. And I'm not necessarily knocking Al Jazeera. I'm just telling you how it's defined by our government here, by the White House. In fact, I enjoy watching Al Jazeera because it's another take on the news. It's a lot more independent than anything we get here in the United States. Even though they have their angle, even though they have their intent, just like Russia today does, and Russia TV does, of course. I mean, all forms of media are propaganda. They just are, mainstream or alternative. What the audience needs to decide is, what is the propaganda? Is it moral, just? Is it based and focused on truth, or is it meant to manipulate you, inappropriately? But this deal, this huge buyout, the deal is intended to give Al Jazeera greater penetration into the U.S. market. It will close Current. So Current TV is going down, and they're replacing it with a new network called Al Jazeera America. Think about this. I mean, we've had a totalitarian takeover at the White House, obviously, with the president, with President Barack Obama. And now we have a mainstream media takeover where the rest of the world is literally buying media space here, and they're more popular than, honestly, CNN and Fox News is, or at least they're becoming that. This is pretty interesting. Now, I'm reading some of the struggles that Current TV has been through. Current TV had struggled with viewers, but is widely distributed on cable providers and reaches 60 million of the 100 million U.S. households with cable or satellite service. But Al Jazeera America will face hurdles with U.S. distributors and viewers. Time Warner Cable, I mentioned this, or I was about to, immediately dropped their syndication of Current TV and soon to be Al Jazeera because of the buyout. They say our agreement with Current has been terminated, and we will no longer be carrying the service. We are removing the service as quickly as possible, it said in a statement. Gore, of course, is a business partner in the name of Joel Hyatt. They created the channel in 2005, confirmed the sale in a statement on Wednesday. The terms were undisclosed. Current Media was built based on a few key goals: to give voice to those who are not typically heard, to speak truth to power, to provide independent and diverse points of views, and to tell the stories that no one else is telling. Now, although that sounds admirable and all, goody two-shoes, Current TV is extremely liberal media platform. Extremely. I mean, just as much as I even I like watching to see the alternative opinion, the difference in opinion that the Young Turks, for example, give, but it's not of my opinion. It's a lot more liberal, and much more of an endorsement on tyranny, in my opinion. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. Well, what's interesting about this merger is Glenn Beck's media organization, The Blaze, also was trying to acquire and made a bid. Supposedly, at least according to them, Glenn Beck put a tweet out on this, made a bid for Current TV himself on behalf of his organization, but was turned down because Al Gore and his cohort said that Glenn Beck wasn't aligned with the message that they, want to continue. So this is interesting. I mean, think about this. Al Gore is telling you that Al Jazeera, a White House-defined, al-Qaeda sympathizing terrorist media network, that's not my opinion, that's what the White House says, is aligned with Al Gore's philosophy and Current TV's agenda. Glenn Beck, who I don't agree with everything Glenn Beck says, but I admire what he's done for the liberty and freedom movement, and a lot more of my views would be in line with his, not everything, but, a lot of them. A lot of fundamental principles, we'll just say. He was turned down. Al Jazeera is the buyer. So just extremely interesting how we're seeing M&A activity, these large buyouts, corporate mergers, acquisitions, etc. How this is all merging and this window is closing. Honestly, I'd give it 2 years. 2 years before the window closes, and media, again, it will be controlled as it has been throughout history by maybe just a few or a handful of media organizations. This is what is happening. We used to be the Wild West, and I started AMTV at the time when it was the Wild West. This is all merging to the point where huge billion-dollar power players are literally either going to whack, kill, merge, acquire, sell out, or close pretty much every outlet in existence. Hopefully we survive. I'm being serious about that. Hopefully we do survive this, bitter future in a lot of regard. I mean, this is how the global power structure operates. It's about business, it's about corporate agenda, and it's about keeping the people enslaved. And so, of course, now that, the tables have turned and the popularity of the truth movement, et cetera, which at times really I find disheartening because I see how it's been commercialized by a gazillion copycats now, where it starts to at times almost feel artificial to me because of all the copycat fakes out there that are just getting into it for profit motive. I mean, when I started AMTV, I didn't do it for money. In fact, I literally didn't do it for money because I didn't make any money for years. Didn't make anything. Just did it for free. People thought I was crazy. And the reason I did is because I loved it. I love packaging content. I love presenting content. I love talking about the truth and hard subjects and hard topics. And I just did it for my sheer love of it. But now, because of the success and because what people like myself and pioneers before me have done in growing the media movement, now all the copycats and now the big money and now the billion-dollar industry is moving in. I knew this would happen from the get-go. And a lot of it is sad because the beauty and the passion and what made this so special, and I hope to keep it this way, and I hope we survive, what made it so special is the fact that it was real, that it is real, and that there's real people, and that I'm a real person, and I'm here on the air giving a real opinion. That's what made it so beautiful, rewarding, thought-provoking. It's exactly why people have continued to demand it. But now it's becoming commercialized. Now it's, becoming... And honestly, that sucks. I've got to close out the show today. I'll put this rebroadcast, air it out. I've got another video coming out. Again, 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday and Thursday. Hard-hitting and in your face as usual. Big thanks to our partners, our advertisers, our sponsors, American Freedom Radio, our radio network, everything we're doing, but most of all, our audience. I love every single one of you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for getting the message out. I'm Christopher Green. Peace.